Have you tried everything you've been shown to do and still haven't shifted? At least not like you were hoping. Today I'm speaking with Consciousness Mentor Allura Halliwell, whose spontaneous awakening led her to explore one powerful truth. The very pain we try to avoid may actually be the doorway to our deepest alignment. Together, we dive into emotional sovereignty, unconscious patterns behind burnout and overachievement, and how expanding beyond fear can open entirely new possibilities for your life and work. Welcome to Break Free from the Burnout. I'm your host, Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, physicist turned energy healer. I'm here to help you make the quantum shifts to release the hidden blocks to your success. Your next breakthrough starts now. If you've done the therapy, the mindset work, the meditation, and still feel like something essential hasn't clicked, the Consciousness Method from Allura Halliwell offers a deep conversation about the space where healing meets lived reality. Through powerful student stories and grounded explorations of emotional sovereignty, identity, and wide-spectrum awareness, this show speaks to seekers, leaders, and modern parents ready to move beyond self-improvement loops into embodied transformation. Welcome to the show, Allura. I am so excited for this conversation. I'm really excited to hear what you have to offer and about your awakening. So tell us about that a little bit first.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Anastasia. It's a pleasure to be here.
A lot of us that are in this kind of realm, they call it the woo realm. A lot of us that are in that realm have gone through their downs and ups and awakenings. And so I think a lot of us are very interested in hearing each other's stories and how that can help other people.
So the awakening is something that I could probably talk about for a week because it was such a comprehensive, deep dive journey into a new reality, a new version of myself, a new timeline. But I suppose at the base of that experience was that for me it was unexpected and it happened spontaneously and in a way that I would never have planned, and I took many years to recover from, to be honest, because it was so sudden. So I was a mum, and still I'm a beautiful mum of three gorgeous kids. But at that point, I had a 4, 6, and 8-year-old. I've been pregnant and breastfeeding for almost 8 years, and I was in a state of depletion. I was also in a marriage that was a bit quite dysfunctional with a lot of emotional overwhelm. I was trying to survive my daily life, thinking about meals, thinking about kids, thinking about how we were going to, cope. And I was invited to a meditation retreat. And I thought, what a great idea to go for a holiday and to have a small break. What I didn't expect was at that retreat, I had a very powerful out-of-body experience where I walked down to the sand to start meditating with the group. I felt my body get very heavy. I ended up laying down on the sand because I couldn't sit up. And then I felt my consciousness move from the tips of my toes all the way up my body and then out the top of my head. And then as my consciousness came out of my head, I could see my body lying on the ground, almost like a near-death experience where people speak of seeing their bodies and moving away from it. And then my consciousness didn't stop. It just kept going and it merged into a very bright light. And then from there into my identity and my whole being. Yeah.
That was an amazing story. And what was the result? What happened after you came out? What changed for you?
Yeah. So when I finally came back to my body, I opened my eyes and I could only see energy. And I had a very powerful energetic awakening. So the energy was moving through my body. Some people would call that a Kundalini awakening. But most obviously was that I didn't really know who I was anymore. I felt like I just landed back in a body and I was waking up for the first time. So at a level of amnesia. And from that point, I was given, I suppose, a really interesting direction from maybe my soul, maybe from source, which was to find out what it feels like to be a human when you have this level of awareness where you're looking at it from a step beside yourself, and to work out what are the parts of being a human that create limitation, that create fear, that create a sense of not really being truly loved or enough or feeling understood. And that set me in motion for some very, very deep years of exploration, integration, meditation, questioning, working with the construct of reality, working with my inner world to try to understand more deeply where we get stuck as humans. And from that process, I developed the consciousness method, which really gave me a framework for understanding where people get stuck in patterns of separation, lack, wounding, trauma. And it's created a gateway for myself and many others to really come home to a greater understanding of what we're here and why we're here and what we're here to do.
Yeah, so that's exactly what alignment is, right? Where your inner world matches your outer world. And
Yeah.
a lot of us don't live that way. A lot of people are influenced by the outside world, people, society, traditions, religion, all of these things end up in your influencing what you do and how you do it rather than what needs to happen. And it sounds like that was your life before your awakening.
Yeah. And I found there was, on a deeper exploration of that piece, is that there are so many programs that we are shown in society that create a gap between who we know we have to be and who we are and who we should be and what we should be doing and what is expected of us. And that gap is complex because it's not as easy as just saying, I'm just going to align to myself. Because often what happens in that is that we come up against some of these more mm, deeper patternings that are actually encased in a lot of fear. So I find the number one thing that prevents people from stepping into alignment is that they have a very genuine fear of going there. And from the work that I've done, that fear is multi-dimensional. That fear is of stepping into the unknown, which is something that I had to master over those years because I was being called into out of my marriage. I was being called out of the material world into my inner world. I was being called into a multi-dimensional experience of the world, more so than a three-dimensional experience of the world. I was being called into purpose. That didn't always mean, financial security. I was being called in so many different ways that I had to continually align to something greater than the program. And so I had to develop a way to work with my fear.
Yeah,
And what came out of that was that I realized the only thing every human fears, every single human, the only thing we fear is our own pain. So when I realized that it was the fear of the pain that I perceived would happen if I went ahead with that thing, then I realized there was a huge gateway in working with unconscious pain, because that unconscious pain is the thing we fear, that is the thing that prevents us from being in alignment. So that work has been life-changing for me and life-changing for many of the people I work with, to understand the role of pain and fear in creating alignment.
to me, that's basically the essence. It takes a lot of courage to move forward, and it's that courage of allowing you to feel the pain and allowing you to feel the fear and move forward anyway.
Yeah, for me, the pain is what I call a portal. It is a place where we've protected that pain from our conditioning, that it's not okay to feel certain ways. Maybe in childhood, you were suppressed and told to get over it, to not feel it. Maybe you were punished for having an emotion when you were a child.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you were ignored. Maybe you were told you were too much. So then our relationship to our natural processing gets distorted because it's again shrouded in fear. We fear feeling things because of the reactions that people around us. And that stepping into that pain, it's a journey to reconnect to that pain, to make it safe enough to feel. And this is where I find a lot of people don't feel safe, because you need to have the inner safety with your own pain as the primary point of you then developing safety in your whole life. Because if you're fearing your pain, it's just going to keep informing you over and over again. So instead of just going through the fear, I use a process called stretching the nervous system. And it's about identifying in reality where that limitation has been placed, where you've believed that there is nothing beyond this certain point, beyond that job, beyond that relationship, beyond that design of the way you communicate with people around you, beyond your financial limitations, beyond where your health is stuck. And that's the point we have to work with concisely and consciously. And the expanding the nervous system in those spaces is not just like overcoming fear and doing it anyway. It's a very conscious process of seeing where you are in a restricted, separated state and gently opening into something a little vaster, something a little more connected. And it usually feels like if you're doing it right, you're going to die. It feels like that because you're facing the edge of your identity. You're facing the edge of who you think you've been in that space. So it's a very confronting process. And I really want to share that because I think a lot of people think, oh, I just have to, if I face my fears, I'll be okay. It's a journey through that. It's an understanding of what we're doing so that you can create inner safety while you're expanding through fear.
Yeah. So what I meant by courage is allowing the fear and allowing the pain to happen so you can get through the state rather than doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the courage is I know I'm going to hurt, but I want to do this so I can get past it. In our group, we always said the only way out is through.
Yeah.
Yes. So you talk about the interface between internal healing and external creation for someone pursuing success in business or leadership or even in their relationships. How do they know whether they're building from alignment versus building from unconscious compensation?
Such a good question. You're going to see loops if you're building from something unconscious. So you're going to see the same patterns turning up over and over again, the same responses from bosses or colleagues, the same responses from partners that keep you feeling very much in a familiar zone that this is all there is, this is how life is. And then I would say that's not as much alignment as responding to what's going on around you that's triggering for you some unconscious space. So if you have patterns that keep looping, I would say that's time for a deeper look at where there's an unconscious, sometimes part of you that's not in alignment with the whole spectrum of you, that's still holding the pain and the fear, because reality is a mirror to where we need to go more deeply into ourselves.
Mhm.
So if there's something that we're being shown, it's an invitation to say, wow, let me go in and look and understand what is going on in that space within me to allow more alignment to show up internally and then externally around you. And often people won't like that. People will be resistant to you changing because they'll feel that if you change, they won't get to have their same unconscious reaction to you. And sometimes reality is a little bit tricky like that. We have to go through places where people aren't always that happy with us when we're aligning to ourselves.
Oh,
And
absolutely not. They try to pull you back to where they had you before, where they're comfortable and they know how to deal with you. But that new thing that you are is they're not able to deal with it anymore. So they keep pulling you back. I always say it's like turning up the volume. They keep turning the volume up of the conflict with them until they finally give up and say, okay.
yeah, she's out or he's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call this the wound bond. So every human has an unconscious pattern of separation
Hmm.
that I've really designed into three core categories, either feeling unloved, unworthy, or unknown, which is misunderstood and unsafe. And these three core patterns, they really create a framework of us feeling separate from ourselves and separate from others, but they create a very predictable pathway of experiencing reality. So when two people are in an unconscious space of continually triggering each other into these wound bonds, which just means you're bringing up each other's unloved, unworthy, unknown wounding, that's the place to get more curious. And often it's not about that relationship. That relationship will be the top level of a deeper patterning that's laid within us that we need to explore.
Mm-hmm. So you often point to unconscious unworthiness as the hidden driver behind burnout and overachievement. How does unworthiness disguise itself as ambition, and how can someone recognize the difference?
Yeah, unworthiness is such a huge driver. I've worked with so many very successful businessmen and women who are running a fine line between being burnt out and being highly successful in what they do. And that burnout tells me that their energy is not coming from an intrinsic connected place within them, that they're in the space actually fulfilling themselves and feeling connected to the design of what they're doing. They're constantly pushing out to receive the validation, to receive the pay rise, to receive the approval. And that energetic push out means that you're running from, it's almost a level of addiction that you need to keep ticking those milestones to feel safe in yourself. But what happens then, we have all these other things come up, which is like you begin to feel exhausted, have health issues, relationships start to crumble in some way. So I think it's one of those experiences where you need to be very conscious of what toll is it taking on me to keep pushing, to achieve, to tick almost boxes of illusion, because they're just things that you feel you need to tick to be safe in yourself.
Part of it's chasing external validation or telling other people how great they are, to say, look at me, this is how I am, instead of being internally balanced with who they are and that they're worthy already.
Yeah. And it's often the high achievers that go into that zone. And there's some gift to that because you can create in that way. However, when you're creating out of your own lack, you will always be in lack. You will always perceive lack around you
Yeah.
and within you.
Yes.
And so many beautiful humans I've worked with that have had to really take seriously the journey of disengaging from their addiction to work, to come home to themselves and free themselves, because they're beginning to see the widespread impact on continuing to be so invested in something outside of them. And it's a journey, and again, it's scary because the fear there is, well, if I'm not that person, who am I? Who do I show up as if I'm not the very successful, kicking goals, businessman or woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Saw that a lot in academia. I spent 40 years in academia. And when I said I was quitting and that I was going to be doing something else, I did some real estate house flipping, and they said to me, how can you quit? Like, who would you be without it?
Mm.
So I thought that was really interesting. It matched what you said, that people don't recognize themselves anymore if you start taking away their outer achievements.
Yeah, and I've witnessed so many of the people I've worked with discover a whole new life. Like a whole new reality is opened up. Relationships that they were seeking that they couldn't quite invest in and nourish, adventures that they always wanted to take that they couldn't find the time for. Life really began to bloom. And this is, I think, at the core of all the work I do, is actually initiating a more connected relationship with the full spectrum of life, feeling free to live.
So I lost you when I asked you whether you can see people's energy when you work with them.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't see people's energy. I can see their patterns. So I can see how they are patterning their reality, and I can often see the unconscious drivers that are creating certain design patterns in reality that they're invested in. And I can always feel their pain, which is the depths of where their stored pain exists within them. And I think this is because I've just got a really strong relationship with pain, not as suffering, but pain as a portal of liberation, really, of a place where we can transverse and free ourselves and our energy through that.
Yeah, so you're deeply empathic and highly sensitive.
Mm,
Yeah,
that helps.
it does. I'm the same way, but I don't see their energy visually. I see it like when I look at them with my mind's eye, I see their energy and I
Mm,
can feel their flow and I feel what they're feeling in my body. So
right.
if they have pain in their knee, I'm feeling the pain in my knees. Fortu-
Mhm.
Fortunately, I learned how to just sample and pull out. Otherwise, I'd be in pain a lot.
Yeah, that's a challenge. I
So,
love that.
yeah. What does emotional sovereignty look like in a leadership context? And
Yeah, so emotional sovereignty is that you are anchored in your own truthful emotional expression and really not available to be pulled into other places where you don't need to go. And this can look like, not being pulled into shame or blame or guilt or being pulled into a place of over responsibility where you're taking on that it's your fault that this thing has happened, where you feel an alignment that you're operating in a sense of truth about who you are and what needs to happen, and you have enough internal processing that you don't need to fall into being connected to someone else's emotions. So you're freeing yourself. You feel emotionally free within you and not so much at the mercy of everyone around you.
yeah, I always say that whatever people think about me is none of my business.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
How does it change the way someone makes decisions, handles conflict, or navigates visibility?
Well, I think you feel safer to make decisions that aren't comfortable but are aligned because you're not fearing someone else's emotional response to you. You're focused on what is the right thing to do. And I think that gives us a lot of power when we act in that way because we're responding from where it's right and aligned within us as opposed to where we want to protect other people or make it easier because we don't want to upset anyone. But I do think that that piece can take quite a lot of identity work because if we've grown up as needing to please those around us to receive love and validation, particularly our parents,
Yeah.
I often see that the construct that we experienced in the family home is repeated and mirrored in the workplace. So the boss takes on the role of the father, or the jealous colleague takes on the role of, the conflict with the mother, or whatever that dynamic was. And so then we can use the workplace as a really amazing access point for more personal development and expansion because we're not looking at it as a problem on one level that it's about the boss or it's about the colleague. It's actually about you and where your pattern is stuck in that
Yeah.
space. So when we get that clarity, then we get empowered because we're like, well, if it's about me, I can work with that. If it's about someone else and I'm just a victim to their reactions, responses, and whatever, then it's less empowering. So we want to always realize our part in the experience so we can free ourselves.
I love that. Yes, I completely agree too. We touched on how people's identities change as they come through this process and awaken. So, a lot of people are afraid which is why they don't go through this process of that they're going to destabilize or lose everything they've built. So how do you navigate that collapse?
That's only because there's an attachment that what they have, they think is the best thing they could possibly have.
Yes.
And that's actually a massive illusion. Like, I deal with this every day. People are like, oh, I don't know if I want that crappy relationship to end, or I don't know if I want to quit this job that's going nowhere. I'm like, there is something on the other side of this that you don't know yet. But when you get there, your life is going to change. You're going to thank me. And I mean, I have people upset at me every day in my mentorship group because I'm pushing them to go where they don't want to go. And then conversely, I'm having people every single day go, oh my God, I can't believe I went there, and look at what is happening now. Look at the chain of events and synchronicities and openings that are coming because I'm not fixed on this is the only thing there is for me. And this is a game of potentiality and reality, because when we're stuck on one potential, we're just literally shutting down I call it the quantum potential of reality into just one possibility. And when we do this work, we open reality up. And when we open reality up,
Yeah, I always liken that to we started out as this seed, like an acorn, and then the tree grew and it has all these possibilities, and you've chosen this path on this branch, but but you actually would rather be on that branch and you don't see how to get there. And this quantum realm of possibilities is that you can wink out of this and wink into that as if you had made those decisions in the first place. And then all of the past doesn't matter anymore.
no, it all
Yeah.
collapses.
Yeah, it all collapses because, I studied quantum physics and vibrational physics. That was what I was a professor in. And
Wow.
and I actually studied vibrations of materials for 40 years, and I still have my finger in it. I like to read about it still, but when a quantum leap actually happens in reality is that it winks out of existence in one place and winks back into existence in another place at exactly the same time, and there's no known path. We don't know how it got there because it's here and here, and there's no way to get from you never find anything in between. And that's how what you're talking about, the quantum, we call
Yeah.
it the quantum realm of possibilities. So the all I can say is what you're saying is so true. Life is so much better.
And that in between, I speak directly to that because I visualize that there's like a design pattern of reality. There's a separation pattern where you're in contraction, you're in the same stuff, you're in the knowing. And I call that the wound reality because that's being informed by the part of yourself that's trapped. And then there's a wholeness reality where all potentials and expanded spaces are open and things are flowing and you're in synchronicity. And then there's something that I call the in between. The in between is a place that we can reside where we're not attached to either. We're actually in an open state of quantum potential. So a lot of the meditations and work we do is about coming safe in the unknown, coming safe in what I call the in between. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be, because that's where pure potential resides. So
So you're
it's
going back to the seed.
yeah, so we're back at source, at the source of everything. We're connecting to becoming source beings while we're in a body. So I think that's a really important piece to add. That's a relationship, right? With the unknown, with that expanded state. And that then I feel it takes some of the mystery out of what we're doing to create that leap because we're actually investing in the space where the leap is possible.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you had to define alignment in one grounded, practical way, not spiritually poetic, but lived, what does alignment actually feel like in the body and in daily life? And what does it mean for you?
It means being conscious and questioning. So alignment takes a lot of conscious questioning. It's like, what am I really doing here? Where is my motivation for doing it?
Mhm.
Am I coming from a part of myself that's just wanting something external to happen so I can feel different inside? or this is actually an intrinsic base where I need to step into. Where is the fear here? Where is the pain here? And that questioning, not just a complacent acceptance of, well, this is just how it is, that questioning raises consciousness, and consciousness raises alignment. So I would be asking the questions on the daily.
A beautiful, beautiful. So if you had to give one tip to someone, like their next step, if they're feeling not quite comfortable, they know they've got to change, what would that tip be?
Yeah, start reaching out to get a different version of yourself and get supported. I think sometimes we get stuck in that no one can help us. This is just how it is. I think it's a really good opportunity to start the journey, to start investigating and exploring. I have a beautiful podcast myself called The Consciousness Method, and it's stories of people that have done this work, and they came from places where they didn't think anyone could help them. And they just stepped in. And I'm not saying it's me, it could be someone else in your life or in your field, yourself, but just take the step to start investigating alternatives and opening that you do not have to be stuck. We're not here to live in a prison. We're here to liberate ourselves. And there are pathways to do that. And I see it every day in the work I do, that it is absolutely possible to reorientate everything that feels trapped and stuck and limited into another level of life. It's not easy. It's tough work, but it's possible.
It's simple, but not easy.
Not easy.
Yeah. The simple part is questioning. The not easy part is going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I spent, when I was going through my own awakening, I spent days and days and days crying to
Oh,
release
yeah.
all the pent up, pain and pent up holding back and pent up, everything that was in me that I was not able to live out and how that had impacted my life. I just spent days and days crying about that. So
I
it,
can totally relate. I spent almost 2 years in the wilderness after my experience, every day, just walking in nature, just releasing that density, crying, crying, crying. A lot of people in my community, I'm like, you just need to keep releasing. You need to keep, even though it's uncomfortable, it's not about getting your life together at this point. It's about allowing the space for you to come home through your emotional expression to the truth of you. And then there's plenty of time to get your life organized. But for now, you need to feel everything.
yes, because if you hold it back, it's just going to come back to bite you. It's like a pressure cooker. It just holding it in when it doesn't want to be in, holding it in just makes it worse. It either explodes, like for me, I got very sick, so it exploded in illness, and other people, it explodes in different ways.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. So how can someone find you?
So the Consciousness Method podcast on Spotify is a good place to look and have a listen, or any platform. And then allurahalliwell.com is my website. But I think a really good place to look out for me at the moment is for my book. I have my book, Unloved, Unworthy, Unknown.
Oh, show it to me, yes.
It's available, and it's
Everywhere.
everywhere. And it's a great opportunity for you to understand more of the work. So I'd love you to, have a look at that. And I'm open for connection. I'm here to serve and available. So please find me and reach out in any way you can.
Yeah, I'll put links in the show notes so it'll be easier for people to find you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. That was a very delightful conversation. I completely identify with everything that you're saying because I've been through it myself. And I love that you're helping people find themselves.
Mm, Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to connecting with everybody. Thank you for the chat, Anastasia. I'll see you soon.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. If this conversation resonated with you, it may be a sign that something deeper inside you is ready to shift. Burnout isn't always about working too hard. Sometimes it's the signal that hidden emotional or energetic patterns are asking to be released. If you enjoyed this episode, please give the show a 5-star or thumbs up rating, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. When you're ready to bring more harmony and alignment to your relationships, check out my free 5-step relationship healing protocol at scientifichealer.com/relationship. Thank you for listening to Break Free from the Burnout. Resources and show notes are available at breakfreefromtheburnout.com. Until next time, I'm Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, sending you golden healing light and success vibes to becoming confident, aligned, and prosperous. Your gifts are so needed in this world.